When was the last time that you truly allowed yourself to feel sad? When we perceive a heavy emotion coming up, our usual initial reaction is to judge it as being bad or negative. You might also distract yourself or numb your feelings, such as with substances or sex. Or you might also brush it off as no important and just hope that it goes away with time. On top of that, a lot of us were taught that feeling sad or depressed makes us weak and not man enough. But my message to you today is, what if your sadness or state of depression you're feeling right now is trying to communicate with you, is trying to deliver you a message? Hello guys, my name is Diego Goulart and I help gay men turn fear into confidence. And in today's video, I want to discuss the importance of letting our emotions flow, not resisting from it, not hiding from it, not judging it, and just allowing it to flow, to run its course, to communicate with our emotions, and most importantly, to see and perceive what is that teaching us about ourselves, about our situation, about our environment, about something challenging that you might be facing right now. And I also want to discuss that when we run away from our feelings, when we judge it as bad, and we are avoiding learning the lessons, we are avoiding feeling our emotions, and it just prolongs our suffering, to be honest. And what I want to share with you today is there's a message, there's knowledge, there's intelligence in our emotions, despite how bad or how uncomfortable they might be feeling. And I want to inspire you to do not fear your emotions and do not run away from it. And I can guarantee you that it will goes away once you learn the message and once you understand what it's trying to tell you about yourself and about your situation. And I want to make a clear distinction about long-term sadness and depression, which is not what this video is about. I'm talking about a temporary feeling of sadness, a passing thought and feeling that you feel for a few days, and perhaps you run away from it, you numb it with something else, or distract yourself with something else. But I'm not talking about long-term feeling of sadness. If you are feeling sad or depressed for a long time, do seek out professional help, and this is not what this video is about. It is important to acknowledge that we do live in a hypermasculine culture that teaches us that for a man to be strong, he should hide his feelings, he should focus his attention to something else, he should be always busy and performing and delivering more, and that his feelings and emotions are not very important, that, the feeling emotions is for women. And that is true both for straight men and gay men. And you can notice this everywhere you go with the men in your life that you interact with. It's very likely that they struggle to express their emotions and to even talk about it. How many of you talk about your emotions with your friends? And even myself, I didn't used to in the past. And I'm learning to allow myself to express in front of others as well. And sometimes I cry because I'm very emotional in general. And I noticed that people would question, oh, is everything okay with you? And there's this sense of oddness and strangeness when others see us expressing our emotions. And it's just not normal in our culture to talk about it, to talk about our emotions, to talk about how we really feel. And when we interact with others, it's just that standard conversation. Oh, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. But there's just not depth in it. And it's just that transactional conversation. We don't really talk about how we are really feeling. And that is stronger for men than for women, because women, they allow themselves to feel their emotions, and between themselves they talk about it. They talk about their emotions more often than men. And on top of those cultural expectations, there's also the fact that we are gay, and we had to deal with our own traumas, to deal with our own insecurities, to deal with our own sense of shame that there was something wrong with us growing up. And so that added more layers into our sense of perceiving that our feelings are not important, that our feelings are not worth sharing. And we grew up with those insecurities in a society that was male dominant, that was straight male dominant. And because of those, we developed some beliefs about ourselves and about our emotions. For example, that showing our emotions is weak, or as I mentioned before, showing our emotions is just for women. Also, that if I demonstrate my emotions, I'm weak, or if I cry in front of others, I'm weak, I'm not strong enough, or that I can ask for help, because if I ask for help, I'm weak. But overall, it's just this standard template that we developed about not showing our emotions, not asking for help, not talking about it with friends and family, and even for ourselves. When we perceive a heavy emotion, as I mentioned in the beginning, we tend to numb it, we tend to hide from it, we shift our directions to something else, our attention to something else, because we avoid feeling it and we avoid looking at it. And it's important to normalize that we are all humans, and as part of being humans, we feel all of those emotions. We feel happiness, we feel pleasure, we feel joy, but we also feel sadness, we feel grief. Sometimes we lose someone that we love in our lives, and we feel grief, and it's very painful and it's very uncomfortable. Or sometimes it's also part of life that we change, and we move cities, we change jobs, we change careers, we change relationships, we change friends, people in our lives, that they move on and we move on as well, because we're also changing. And we also grieve those parts of us. We grieve who we were, that we're now changed and we have to move on. And we feel sad about it. We feel sad about that friendship that we had that no longer resonates, and both of us had to move on, and we feel sadness about it. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's just part of growing up. It's just part of what being human is like. And all of our emotions are important. All of our emotions are welcome if we allow them to be present for a while, to understand what they're trying to mean, and not mask sadness with temporary relief of, I don't know, purchasing something new or going on a trip, and then when you come back, the sadness is still there, and you are just avoiding looking at it. You are postponing the suffering because you're numbing sadness to something else, and that's not real joy, that's not real happiness, and it's just avoiding to look at it. And you can reflect right now in your own life. How many times have you brushed it off? If you're feeling sad or grief, or like like a kind of a depressive state, how many times have you changed your attention to something else? How many times have you went shopping, or you went clubbing just hoping it goes away, or you went out drinking with your friends only to feel even more empty afterwards, only to feel more discomfort, only to feel confused, why am I still feeling this? And in my life right now, I'm going through a very reflective period, I would say. And I'm looking at some of my decisions from 1 year and a half ago, and I'm still feeling sad sometimes. I still grieve because I've gone through so many changes. And right now, I'm not where I was hoping I would be at this stage. And I had some expectations, and I'm now frustrated that those expectations didn't really happen according to what I was hoping they were going to be. And I'm feeling sad about them, and I'm feeling frustrated. And I moved back to my hometown, and I'm here temporarily. I was hoping I would stay just for a while, and it's almost a year that I'm here, and it's not a very exciting place for me. And I've struggled with motivation a lot in the last few months, and it's very hard for me to keep motivated, and I'm still struggling with some health problems that I thought I would have fixed by now. And I feel a lot of fatigue and tiredness and, like muscle pain. And it is frustrating. Recently, I met one of my closest friends after not seeing them for almost a year because one of our friends were getting married. And it was an awesome celebration. I was very happy to be with them for a few hours. I was very emotional as well, but I was happy and I was pleased and I was excited. Um, but after that, I came back home in this environment that's not exciting for me, and I was feeling very sad. And I was sad for a good 2, 3 days. I couldn't do anything else. I tried to shift my attention to something else. I tried to work, I tried to read. I went to the gym and I couldn't focus on the exercises as much. But once I allowed that sadness to process and to feel that sadness and to cry, and there was one day that I just allowed myself to be sad and I just didn't do anything with that. I just stayed in bed for a few hours. I just had a meal. I was just chilling in the house and try to rest and just allow it to be sad. And I'm probably still grieving that I'm not close to them anymore, that we don't see each other as often as before. And I feel sad about it. And I feel sad that my life situation is not amazing right now, that it's not as I hoped it would be, that I still have some health problems that I have to take care of. And it's just not what I expected. And I feel sad about it. But once I allowed the sadness to be with me for a while, I feel relieved afterwards. And it's something that happened to me before. If we avoid looking at it, it just delays the suffering, it prolongs the suffering because we don't want to feel that emotion, it feels uncomfortable. But sometimes what I'm sharing with you today is if you allow those emotions and if you allow with curiosity, why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel sad? What is happening in my life right now that is making me feel this way? And what can I change? What can I do about it? Sometimes there's nothing we can do about it and we just have to accept things as they are, like right now. My life situation is not great, but I have to accept it. And I have to accept that I'm taking other steps, I'm taking actions as far as I can go, but some things I have to accept as they are. And once we accept our situation, once we understand what our sadness is trying to tell you, what that emotion is communicating to us, we can change. We can take new steps. We can change directions in our lives. We can do something different because we are allowing it to be with us for a while. Learn to be friends with our sadness or with our depressive state for a while, not for too long, and learn what it's trying to communicate with you. You can ask your sadness, what is it that you're trying to tell me? What is it that I don't understand about myself that you can teach me right now? Sometimes it's teaching you about change your directions, about ending something in your life, about it starting something new. And it's just up to us to be open to that and not run away from it and not numbing it with something else and just allow it to be for a while. And there's nothing to be afraid of. All of our emotions are welcomed, they are part of us, even if when don't allow them to be, they're still there. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And so I hope you learned something new today. Let me know in comments if that makes sense, if that resonated. And I hope to see you again very soon in the next video. Have a good day. Bye bye.